Hey guys, so I'm about to replace my toilet here, and these bolts solve several problems with the standard bolt. So I want to kind of walk you through and help you understand exactly what these features do and why it's worth getting these. So with the old kind of, or like your standard type of bolt, one of the biggest problems is there's nothing stopping this bolt from spinning when it's in the flange. So your flange basically has a wide part right here that the bolt slips into, but there's nothing locking it in place. You can see I'm just free spinning the bolt, and what happens is once you get the toilet on and you go to tighten the nut, it'll go on just fine, but when you try to remove it down the road, the bolt will just spin, and you'll have to cut the bolt from underneath with like a Sawzall. It's like a real pain. So one of the features of these right here is that they're slotted. And so being slotted, what happens is when you put it in here, once they go in this slot, they don't spin. So now when you tighten the nut on this bolt, you have a solid bolt to, screw onto. Now, that's actually not entirely true, but I'll get to that in a minute. So the second feature is it has these locking washers. And a really common problem when you put a toilet on, when you're using these old style bolts, you slide this on, you put it all in position, and then when you go to put the toilet on, you knock this over and it's crooked and it gets out of position, and it becomes a real pain to get the toilet to line up exactly on the bolts. So with these bolts, they have this really tough nylon, I don't know what it is, might not be nylon, but it's this washer that actually holds the bolt in place. So I have this one in already, and so when you put these on, you lift up that washer, you thread it into the hole here, and then you push the washer down, and now this stays in place, and making it a lot easier when you're putting the toilet on. These aren't going to tip over on you. Now, the third and final feature that make these worth it is with traditional bolts, they typically come longer, and depending on the height of your ring, sometimes these rings are installed on the subfloor, sometimes they're on the finished floor like you see here. They'll be extra long, and so you have to actually snap the bolts to the proper height once you've installed the toilet. Now with these bolts, you have actually a free-floating threaded rod that's going through this nut bracket mechanism here, right? So that's why I was saying it wasn't entirely true that you have a solid bolt to attach the nut to, but instead what this allows is the extra thread of the bolts that you don't need will just spin down until you've bottomed out. So it eliminates you having to trim these after the fact. So they're really great bolts. Again, this is the 7110A-001 self-adjusting toilet mount bolts. So definitely worth paying a little bit extra to install with these bolts, because it's going to save you a lot of headache down the road.